And now we're joined by one of the members of the Dubuque Fighting Saints from the 12-13 championship team, Peter Quenneville. And Peter, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got to start off with the question that I think I'm going to ask everyone from this team. And it's, how early on when you start out with that team, do you realize that, hey, something special is brewing here in Dubuque?
Oh, truly, when I look back, I would say within 2 weeks. I think as a group, it's one of those things where practice was so intense and hard and high caliber. I would look around and think to myself, either this is going to be a challenging season or we're going to be this good. For me, on a personal note, I felt the practices were considerably harder than games. Once we started to play other teams, the results spoke for themselves. I think we started the year maybe 9-0. And we had a lot of confidence. And, I think the staff, Monty and Coombsy, did a phenomenal job of, keeping us focused kind of on the process and stuff like that. I think as a group, we knew we would win right from the get-go. It was just a matter of, playing those 64 games until playoffs.
Looking at that season, you mentioned 9 games in a row to start the season. You won 15 straight at home at one stretch. You won 18 of the first 22. I know that not many of you guys would have gotten cocky, but was there that feeling, and I know you kind of just alluded to it, that every single time you step on the ice, hey, we feel like we're going to win this game?
Yeah, I don't know if there was necessarily a sense of cockiness. I think we had incredible confidence in the group. I think top to bottom, we were so deep that if we ever got ourselves in trouble, we were able to find a way to fight back. I think Monty did a great job of encouraging us just to stick with it. And if we played our style, we would get opportunities and teams would eventually fold. And, for the most part, that's what happened.
You had 70 points that season on a team that had multiple players over 70 points. When you have an offense that clicks night in and night out, what was it like being a part of that and being a main contributor to that offense?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think for sure the top 6, but even the top 9, just incredibly deep, finding a way to put up a lot of numbers. And, for me personally, playing with a guy like Shane Sooth up the middle, who was truthfully maybe the most pure passer I've ever played with. His timing and his ability to find me when I wanted the puck was great. And then even at times, playing with Smats or Johnny Stevens or Frankie, guys like that, there's just a ton of chances, right? Whether it's them setting up myself or vice versa. I think, all through the lineup, we were able to generate chances at just a ridiculous pace. And then from the back end, they did a great job too of getting the puck up to us quick and in transition. So I think, while being so stingy defensively, we were still very potent offensively, and it made it a lot of fun to play.
Team wins the Cowbell Cup, the competition between Dubuque, Waterloo, and Cedar Rapids. You win the Anderson Cup as the best regular season team that year, but also you tied the record for most points in a single season by any USHL team in the Tier 1 era. Was that something that was ever talked about as you got closer to that benchmark later in the year?
Honestly, not that I can remember. I think the Cowbell Cup was a lot of fun during the year just to – I think we handled Cedar Rapids incredibly well. I think we were 8-0 against them. And then the matchups against Waterloo were definitely tighter. Truthfully, I think looking back, that might have been the only team that could have beat us. They had some incredible players, a lot of guys that have played in the NHL now even. Then building into, I guess, the NHL's equivalent of the presidents and winning the overall. I think towards the end, it was maybe a bit more of a focus to make sure we got that done because it would give us the home ice all the way through. And like you touched on, we were just so dominant at home. So I think maybe towards the end, but truthfully, it was more so just continuing to play our style and, sticking with what the coaches were saying rather than, deviating at all.
You mentioned the dominance of that team, but still looking back at the playoffs, how challenging was that? Because we've even seen in recent history with hockey, a couple years ago, the Tampa Bay Lightning, by far the best team in the regular season, and then they get swept in the first round. So how challenging was it to have probably all the expectations of you guys are going to win this thing, but still having to go out and actually do that?
Yeah, I think, going in the first round, we knew we were going to probably sweep Muskegon. We had a lot of success against them during the year. A lot of confidence there. The matchup against Youngstown was significantly more difficult. They played a very physical, rough game that, proved to be a little bit more challenging. Plus, we had some injuries in that series after, I think in game 3, myself and maybe a couple other guys got banged up. We ended up losing 3 and 4, which was definitely nerve-wracking for me, having to watch from the stands and not really being able to have an impact. But we just played incredible at home in that 5th game. I think it was a 4-0 win, and just, really got it done. And then I think to a certain extent, there's some unknown when you play in that final against a team from the other division. But, after the first game, I don't really think we ever felt much of a challenge from Fargo, truthfully. I think the way we matched up, sometimes that's just how it is. We matched up really well against them and got it done in 3. So, just, we were able to roll all the way through, but I think we definitely overcame some adversity in that second round.
What do you remember from that game 5 against Youngstown? Obviously, you win the first 2 at home, then you lose twice in Youngstown, and you have to drive back and play that game 5 in Dubuque. Because I was looking at the schedule, that was only the second time all season that you guys had lost 2 in a row. So again, it was kind of a foreign feeling. I mean, what was that feeling like? Was there any type of nerves, or did you guys still have all confidence?
Well, I was extremely nervous because I couldn't play in that 5th game. So I didn't know what to expect coming in. I think that the feeling in the room was that, we were going to get it done because we had all year. And we were coming back home where we were just so good, so dominant. And if we were able to continue to play that way, we were going to do well. And I think, in that game, I think we got on the board pretty early. Our goaltending was fantastic, and we were just able to roll from there. But, I remember, watching that game early on, I think I was kind of freaking out. And then once we scored, it started to settle down. And then, you get to 2-0, and, that was pretty much all she wrote. So, definitely a huge sigh of relief for the guys, not playing. But I think the group in the room knew that, there was no way we were losing that game.
And then you go to Fargo, and obviously you sweep Fargo, as you mentioned. But overall for you, a solid performance in that final. You had 3 points. You had 9 points in 9 games overall in the playoffs. What was it like to, again, just be able to be a main contributor in such a memorable playoff run?
Yeah, it was great. I think in those first couple games, I remember, I'll never forget, Smats made a heck of a pass to me on that first one. I think in game 1, was able to go upstairs in that far side. Just a great play by Smats, put it in a perfect spot. And then I think I scored on a slap shot in game 2. So it felt great to be able to contribute and get on the board and, do what I had done all year. I think your top players need to rise to the occasion, in those big moments. And I think as a group, all of us did. And then in that final, I think personally I didn't play my best game, but, like I said, we were just so deep that I don't think it really ever mattered if, 1, 2, or 3 of us maybe had an off night, right? You see, I think in that final game, I can't remember what the final score was, but I think we scored 4 or 5 goals. And Frankie getting that winner in OT, just, a fantastic play and just speaks to the depth that we had and the ability to just keep rolling. It was just incredible feeling.
You mentioned that game winner in OT by Frankie, and I think it probably still stands as the most memorable singular moment in the Fighting Saints 10-year history back in Dubuque. Do you remember where you were on the bench or on the ice and what your reaction was, or did everything kind of just go black the second that goes in the back of the net?
I think, I had just gotten off the ice and I was sitting down, and, Frankie got the puck up, but once he kind of started to get real close to the net where he broke in wide and then was driving in, I think everybody starts to lean up over the bench, thinking this might be it. And once you see it go in and he throws his gloves up in the air, I think it's just a race, a complete yard sale from the bench. You're trying to see how fast you can get from the bench to, it was just down in that right corner. So, yeah, just, I guess on one hand, a sigh of relief, but just so much excitement that, the group that knew we could get it done actually did it. And yeah, definitely one of the best years of my career for sure.
And obviously a ton of support throughout that season from the Fighting Saints fans. And I think that's a good note to end on, is just throughout that entire season, and then the Clark Cup celebration coming back. And obviously you didn't win it on home ice, but being able to celebrate with the Dubuque fans. What was that support system like your entire season with the Fighting Saints?
Yeah, it was incredible. The fans were so loyal and engaging, and, truly, wanted to see us do well. And, I think we had a phenomenal atmosphere the whole season, always loud, fun place to play. And I think that contributed so much to our success. And then I think the fans were well traveled too. There was, so many nights on the road where we would have a nice section cheering us on. And, I think to be able to bring that Clark Cup back, the second in 3 years, just really put Dubuque on the map as premier place to play in the USHL with a strong winning pedigree. And I think, since then they've gone on to produce a lot of great hockey players. So, it's just great to be a part of that organization and to be an alumni.
Well, Peter, we're really excited, obviously, of having you here and being able to relive such an incredible season and then the Clark Cup moment. And I'm sure the fans will be very excited to hear from you here in a couple nights as well.
Thank you.